So if you're a woman, I believe women should have a sense of, I want to be married. I don't want to spend time with the guy who's not looking towards marriage, where marriage isn't clearly in his future. Maybe not right now. But if you're getting with a guy, you're thinking marriage, and he's thinking, we'll see where this goes.
You have to say it. You have to say that that's what you're looking for, and give him the opportunity to respond to that. I think it's such a mistake to go into it and saying that's what I want, but it's like, oh well, I'm afraid to chase him off, or I don't, you know what I'm saying, and just kind of like, let's just wait and see how this thing goes. But I think it is, I think it's the healthier thing to do. Say, well, this is what I'm looking for. Is this what you're looking for? Even if it's not right now, we're not saying that you're gonna get married in 6 months or so, maybe.
Right.
But
we'll pray for
like,
it.
I think it's awesome to just say up front and that first date and that first meeting or whatever, hey, this is my vision for my life and what I'm looking for in conversation. And then ask that person so you can kind of see like where they are. So you're just not, because if you're in a, like, hey, my vision is marriage, and the guy's like, yeah, I don't believe in marriage. Aren't you happy that came out on the first date?
Yeah.
Rather than you start dating and then it's a year in, and it's like, wait a minute.
And we're not saying to say it in a way where you're putting pressure on the person, but it's more so just setting the expectation.
Yeah.
It's saying, hey,
that's what I'm looking for.
If we're going to spend time together and we build a relationship, if this works out, I don't want to look back 5 years from now and you were like, oh, well, I didn't sign up to be married. Why don't we just keep doing what we're doing?
It happens. And the stakes are higher. No, my guy. The stakes are higher for us ladies, because with that, with relationship comes great responsibility at times if we're just not careful.
I love how you do that.
You know what I'm saying? And then you bring in life into it, and then you're trying to make that work, and dude is still on the fritz, and and then it's kind of like I've been there, done that, seen it so many times for women get caught up in that, and then eventually they're like 6 years in, 5 years in, 3 years in, this is not what he wants. If you'd asked him from the beginning,
he probably would have told you.
He probably would have told you, and sometimes we get together because we really like them. We love them, they're amazing. And we hold up hope that something is gonna change down the line, something that we're gonna do or something that's gonna happen. And I don't know, I just don't wanna I don't wanna bet my future on that. I'd prefer to just know straight up what I'm getting. We do it with everything else in our lives. If you're gonna go purchase something, you wanna know exactly what you're gonna get, and it's gonna work the way that you expect it to work. So I think the stakes should be even higher for relationships, rather than you kind of put yourself out there. And not to say that, oh, you're a single mom or a single dad, there's no hope for you. But for those who are not in that situation, this is, I think, any person with a child who's not with the child's father or the child's mother would say, hey, it would have been great to have that conversation from the beginning, so I would know, and not kind of having to do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about single parenting because we're both single parents, but for those of us who are not in that situation, having those conversations up front leads to so much less disappointment and no heartbreak, because it's like, I know what this is. And if you decide to keep moving forward, that's a decision that you made willingly and with an open mind, and you're not blinded to that.
Yeah. And what I would just add to that is trust God in the process. Like,
absolutely.
Make sure that you're hearing from the Holy Spirit. I will try to link to a video right now where, if you struggling with hearing from the Holy Spirit, if you hear from the Holy Spirit, if you hear from God, then hear from Him and then do whatever He's telling you to do. Yeah. And the reason why I started to be upfront, and I was upfront with you, is because I had, sat down with a couple pastors of mine before we met, where they had just walked me through, just a lot of healing of my past relationships with women, and then helping me prepare me for being married. Because I expressed to them, hey, one day I want to be married. And so they started helping me get prepared for that. Yeah. And in that preparation, I was open with them about, who I was thinking about dating, who I was attracted to, and things of that nature. And they would help me out and be like, listen, this is what you do. Yeah. This was the advice I got. My pastor said to me, he said, when you approach her, just let her know, like, hey, and this is a tip, right?
It's a tip.
Hey, I'm really interested in going out with you. I'm attracted to you, or just however you say that. You don't have to use these words exactly, but I want to see if you're the person that God has for me, right? And then set boundaries. So I would set boundaries and say, So as we go out, if she's interested, as we go out, it's like, hey, there's gonna be no physical intimacy or anything like that. And, I'm just gonna be praying just throughout the duration of our time getting to know each other. I'm just gonna be praying like, God, is this the one? And, hopefully you guys are spiritually on the same page.
Yes.
Okay?
Spiritually on the same page.
When you're spiritually on the same page, I do believe God might bring together two people who are not spiritually on the same page. We can talk about that in a second. But if you're spiritually on the same page, have that conversation up front and just say, hey, if at any time, during our getting to know one another, you feel that I'm not the one or I feel like you're not the one, we can just say that.
It doesn't take months.
It doesn't take months.
Not take months.
And I said that to a woman one time before you and I met, and it was just the simplest thing. Okay, of course there's like, the little sadness, and maybe even a feeling of rejection that maybe she felt, but it got to a point where I was just like, okay, within a week, I was like, okay, this is not the one. And because we hadn't, crossed any physical boundaries.
No heartbreak.
No, all these emotional boundaries. We hadn't gone that far. It was clear what was happening. We were able to just, shake hands.
It was as simple as being denied a cookie. You can't have that cookie. Oh, man. Okay.
I love it.